Some people like to have pets that they can put in their bags. However, some like pets that can easily overpower them. Take the family that took in a giant hippo, for example. Or even the family with a Dane as tall as 3 feet. Here are the 40 biggest pets ever captured. But before we show you, make sure to like and subscribe. Giant black throat monitor. Most people run and throw shoes just at the sight of an icky lizard. However, a few find them adorable, enough to even keep them at their homes as pets. However, these giant Godzilla-like creatures are actually quite expensive to keep as pets. They need the whole lighting setup of their own, a lot of food, and a vast enclosure. So if you're a beginner and want to keep a pet, stick with a goldfish. Giant African land snail. If you are one of those kids that would always poke around snails, slugs, and other bugs, then you're going to love these. These snails are actually as big as your face and can reach a size of about 8 inches. However, don't get too excited. These enormous creatures are illegal pets, since they can feed on about 500 types of plants and destroy them. In addition, the bigger they are, the hungrier they get. Biggest rodent pet capybara. Rats, mice, and other rodents are revolting to look at. They always dwell in places with disgusting environments, but capybaras are not like that. These might be rodents, but they look like giant stuffed toys. Because these creatures never had any natural predators, they are extremely friendly. They can hang out with almost any animal, no matter what the species is. This particular one loves to chill in the pool with its mother and loves to be smothered in love. Monster-sized goldfish. When it comes to getting a pet, parents always get their kids a goldfish or something of that sort. They're easy to take care of and it's not too much effort. Well, that's what you thought. These finned friends can grow up to about 7 to 16 inches long and up to 5 pounds in the wild. That's not all. These fish are really bad for the environment, as well as they worsen the quality of water and destroy plants. Man-sized pet wolf. Big fluffy dogs are adorable and lovely pets to play with. However, once you realize how big Canadian wolves can get, it's game over for those dogs. And they occupy about 90% of Canada. At least they're friends, even though we haven't been able to completely domesticate them. This guy over here actually looks like he's the wolf's pet. Medusa, the huge pet snake. Snakes are meant to be kept in the wild where they can crush and eat any prey they like. But this pet owner decided that this beautiful reptile would become her companion for life. But the truth is, no matter how much you try to domesticate, so there is always a chance they would try and eat their owners. Jabba, the giant Flemish rabbit. Puppies are cute, but have you ever seen a rabbit hat come to their owner when they call them? This is Jabba, the giant Flemish rabbit, and her owner managed to train her quite well. These animals make very good pets, even if their size looks intimidating. They're also very friendly and get along quite well with kids too. Let's be honest, who wouldn't have a fluff ball in their laps on a relaxing afternoon? Giant pet centipede. Keeping myriapods as pets isn't always the first option for every pet owner, but that won't stop this young man from getting all cuddly with his multiple-legged friend. Usually, these pets aren't the type to be touched or stroked. They're more for just enjoying visually or to be kept in your room with some funky lighting. And in the unfortunate case that they bite you, it can get pretty bad because giant centipedes are venomous after all. In fact, one bite can use swelling, pain, and even fever. So these pets are definitely for daredevils. Huge stick insect. If you thought a chameleon was the one pet you could lose easily, you'd be wrong. That's because it's definitely this giant stick bug. These insects look so much like an actual stick that you might forget it's a real living thing. They love to be handled and sit on their owner's hand. Moreover, you only need to clean their enclosures about once a week. Make sure to keep them away from any snakes, birds, or rats, because they would gobble this poor creature up in no time. Huge rhino beetle. Is a bug really a bug if it can grow up to the size of a hamster? Meet the largest beetle in the world, the rhinoceros beetle, that has a little horn on the front. These bugs can grow up to about 6 inches and bite at you with their tiny little horns and claws if you bother them too much. Other than that, they're very calm and will happily sit on your hand. Don't get too attached to them though, they can only live for about 3 to 6 months. 6-foot pet croc. You don't need a huge mansion or a customized pool to have a 6-foot croc as a pet. And this family has shown us how. In a small pool of water, this Indonesian family managed to keep their crocodile, Kojak, alive and happy for about 20 years. The family sometimes plays ball games beside his channel, where he spends most of his time. In the whole time the crocodile has been with them, he hasn't tried to attack or injure the humans at all. What a loyal reptile! Giant hermit crab. Sometimes you can't really tell how big something is on a screen. It could easily be edited. So here's a normal-sized hermit crab on top of a huge one. It's not even a quarter of its size. These pinching creatures aren't really aggressive. They're mostly passive and don't care about much as long as they're being fed. However, if you hold them wrong, they will grab onto your skin and pinch a little. Giant toad. Giant cane toads are marine toads that look like grumpy old witches, but they're not all that bad. That is, if you're immune to the toxins they produce. Admittedly, they're not the best pets, but some people do go out of their way to keep them as one. Not only are they hideous to look at, but they can also grow up to 9 inches, making them all the scarier. Huge grizzly. We've always been taught to stay away from bears or play dead if they're around. But did you know that they make incredibly good pets? They're practically huge dogs who love rubs. This one right here is named Jim, and all he wants is his human to keep rubbing him all day. Most bears who live in captivity are very friendly to humans and probably can't survive in the wild, so this home is actually perfect for him. Giant leaf bug. A moving leaf in the air isn't surprising, but when that leaf starts to move on a particularly dry day, just know that it's probably someone's pet leaf bug. Their appearance is so similar to that of a leaf that even us humans can confuse it with a real leaf. If you take good care of them, they can live up to 3 years. This doesn't mean you can just put them in a jar with some soil and branches and call it a day. All pets need proper homes. Giant moth. We all know how mesmerizing butterflies are, but when there's a moth as big as this flying about, the butterflies seem like nothing in comparison. The Atlas moth here is among the biggest insects on the planet, but they make very poor pets. Not because they're aggressive or anything, but they only live for 7 days after breaking out of their cocoon. They use almost all their energy as a caterpillar, and once they grow wings, they don't even eat once. Talk about a strict diet. Giant tortoise. The tortoise might have lost the race, but it's definitely won the game of life. This is a giant Galapagos tortoise and can live up to 117 years. You might want to get an animal as friendly as this one, but the truth is, these poor creatures are highly endangered. Moreover, they're very expensive to take care of, and if you have enough funds to take care of an animal for 2 centuries, then go ahead. Giant pet hippo. Some families don't even let their dogs in the house, but this South African family is happy to let in this giant hippo. Many people told the family to be aware of his wild animal tendencies, but they never listened. Finally, the mother explained that they have a special relationship. But soon, tragedy struck. More like the hippo struck, because the pair were found dead after their pet had bitten them to death. Some animals are best kept away from your house. Super fat raccoon pet. Raccoons are a menace to society with their skilled theft skills. But what happens to one that lives with a human? That means unlimited food. Unfortunately, this little trash panda doesn't know when to stop, and that's why it blew up to this size. It can't even get out of this little house. How hilarious is that? Huge scorpion pet. Scorpions aren't the cuddly time of pets, but they won't chew off your ear with their annoying meows. Granted, they might actually bite them. They look super hardcore and are also quite low maintenance. You might think they're dangerous, but most species aren't really harmful. All they need are freshly fed cricket, mealworms, and waxworms to be happy. And one more rule, never, ever hold them. Even if you must, use a long pair of foam-tipped forceps. Giant skunk pets. If you think about it, skunks are pretty cute when you ignore their awfully pungent smell.
Ew.
That's actually what Jim and Kim Pockrant did here. They got their skunk spraying glands removed so they could keep them as pets. To them, they're basically cats, and they even eat a special kind of cat food. Looks like they eat way too much of it, judging by their huge size. Gigantic pig. If you've seen Spirited Away, then you know how big pigs can get. But just look at the size of this one. Lulu here was a gift to his dad, who was thought to be a micro pig at first. But then, the pig kept growing and reached up to 600 pounds. Most teacup pigs only grow up to 65 pounds, but even those can cost you thousands of dollars. Giant hedgehog. There's nothing cuter than a tiny little spiky hedgehog all rolled up into one ball, but the European hedgehogs can grow up to the size of a football. But of course, their size doesn't stop them from being super cute too. Weirdly enough, they love belly rubs and cuddles. However, when they're young, they will definitely bite you, so be gentle. Honey bear pet. Pooh isn't the only one that had a sweet tooth for honey. Meet the honey bear, Chloe. They're also called kinkajou, and you might even think they're real at first sight. They look like a dog in a bear costume, even though they're related to raccoons. These small pets might look cute, but they're absolutely the worst pets. They will scratch, bite, and kick their owners for no reason. Giant polar bear. A pet polar bear only seems possible in cartoons, but this man is living his dream with his giant fluffy pet. Both of them love to take swims together in his huge swimming pool. The polar bear is also unusually friendly with his owner, accepting belly rubs and physically affectionate. Even though buying a polar bear costs about $15,000, this guy has managed to do it. Super buff kangaroo. Australia has enough kangaroos, yet this man wanted one of his own. Not just anyone too, he wanted one that was built like a superhero. Most kangaroos are pretty buff because almost 50% of their weight is purely muscles. In addition, they need to hop around a lot, so it makes sense that they look like they've been overdosing on protein powder. Giant cow. You might have seen Knickers all over the news. After all, he is a very special cow. This monstrous steer went viral when a picture of him standing near regular old cows was posted online. It weighs almost 1.5 tons. You might think his meat wouldn't be quite expensive, but thanks to his fame, Knickers managed to get away from the slaughterhouse. Pet penguin. Penguins might be the most exotic animals known to man, but that doesn't mean they're exactly illegal to own. Back in the 90s, a penguin named Lala got attached to a family so much that it refused to leave them. This penguin would even go around town to buy his own fish with a little Pingu backpack on. How adorable! Jumbo koi fish. Koi fish are some of the most elegant centerpieces a house can have. Unfortunately, keeping them as pets can be quite difficult if you don't have the right equipment and materials. Jumbo with perfect patches can cost up to $3,000, so you can imagine how valuable these are. Giant feathery chicken. At first glance, these feathery chickens don't look too different, but once it gets out of its coop, that's when you realize how big it actually is. This 3-foot-high cockerel has shaken the internet with just one video, and still, no one had any idea what this breed was. The 17-pound monster is a Brahma chicken that was imported from China. Now this would make a good zinger sandwich. Giant Andean condor bird. With a wingspan of 10 feet, anyone would be intimidated by this bird. However, James has been friends with the giant Andean condor bird, Rosie, for 3 years. This species is the largest of its kind among the birds of prey in the whole world. And he's generous enough to show everyone his winged friend too. Great Dane. Golden Retrievers and Pit Bulls can get pretty big, but you should know that Great Danes are called great for a reason. These start out as small, adorable pups, but they can grow up to a whopping 3 feet tall in a few years. You could even potentially ride them at this size. However, it's not recommended. They're dogs, not stallions. Giant cockroaches. Kids have all sorts of weird interests, but this 9-year-old Shelby takes the cake here. She has a special interest in cockroaches, and she has so many that she needs to keep some of them in her bedroom, her brother's bedroom, and the laundry room too. The worst part is, they're huge and super gross. Alright, comment below if you've ever seen an unusually humongous animal. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Evergreen, and we'll see you in the next one.